Hello and welcome back to RPL. Once again, it is time to bring the action for F2 with Japan. It is round number 7 of our season. It is good to have you. I'm Ryan Ocon31, your standalone commentator today for F2. Time to bring the action. Time to give you some storylines in just a moment here. Previously this weekend, we were in Canada for Tier 2. We're in Canada for Tier 1 later today. But in between that time, it's time for some action in Japan at the Suzuka circuit. So with that said, let's go over a couple of storylines and everything else. Last week, we were in Qatar. Searles won the feature race by an absolute big margin. 18 seconds. He extended the championship lead. We'll go over points in just a moment. As for the sprint race, Bourbon Boy returns to the top step of the podium, and it's for the first time this season. He already had a podium before this season. Now he is on the top step of the podium. A lot of new guys on podium, new faces in new places. A lot to be talked about when it comes to that. Spenny F1 got his first podium as well last week in the sprint race. It was also PK who got his first podium too in the feature race last week. So a lot kicked off when it came to last week's race in Qatar. Valkyrie F1. That was a little bit of a surprise pole position with her. That was her first pole position of the season. She's been majorly consistent in the F2 championship so far. Not only has she been consistent, but she's been consistent enough to where Skither being the dominant one, Valkyrie just right behind her when it comes to the championship. We'll go over the championship again, like I said, in just a moment. But before that, let's talk about the winner from Tier 2. And that was a crazy race. I will say this. I don't think it was the cleanest of races, firstly. But when there was not some questionable driving, we saw absolutely amazing action. And there's no doubt about it, there was questionable driving. We had Leon Miner in a couple incidents. I think there was Trat Racer in a couple incidents. Aaron Ocon. There was a couple of drivers, and I'm not going directly to call out these names in a bad way to say they are dirty drivers. They are not. They were just in a bit of questionable incidents that a couple of drivers were quite vocal about. And they weren't the only ones. But with that said, that is where the questionable driving kind of stands in that sense. But it was bonkers winning the race for Ferrari, getting Ferrari their third win of the season. You also had Owen finishing second, and then Grandpa was the one completing the podium for Ferrari. So a lot happened yesterday. Red Bull clinched the Constructors' Championship. Alpine, they're out of it, but they're probably going to be passed by Ferrari with this result from yesterday's race. So a lot happened when it came to Canada, and we saw probably the highlight of the qualifying. Besides the restart, I think the highlight of the qualifying was the two Alfa Romeo teammates coming to collision with Aaron Ocon, Sam Steed. I've looked at the replay a couple times myself, and I really don't think Sam had anywhere to go. And it's unfortunate because like I said on stream, that is a Ferrari Driver Academy disaster, but not only is it a Ferrari Academy disaster, but it's also an Alfa Romeo disaster. Those guys are going to hope to redeem themselves at the Ferrari Academy today with better races. And if they can do just that, well, maybe we'll see what Skither and everyone else can do when it comes to the Drivers' Championship. There is a lot to play for each week in RPL, whether it's F2 or Tier 2. Yesterday with Tier 2, a lot to play for. Even with Sam starting at the back of the grid, he ended up scoring P9 at the end of it, which is just crazy to think about after some of these guys' races. The Alpine boys, they had a bad race when it came to both their drivers. one of their drivers ended up recovering to the top 5. So credit is due where credit is due for Alpine, at least for the recovery. But it has cost them in the Constructors' Championship without a doubt about it. Now, for some of these guys, it's focusing on race wins, focusing on results, and focusing on second on back when it comes to the Constructors, and potentially third on back when it comes to the Drivers' Championship. As for F2, speaking of the championship, let's go over that just now. We have Skither leading the championship with 113 points. Valkyrie, here's the interesting thing. Valkyrie is a complete race behind Skither. 41 points behind. Mythic is also behind. 42 points behind. Blonde, 48 back. And Tadpole, 56 back. Those are the guys 2nd through 5th we're going to watch today because we do not have Skither currently in the lobby. Which is a concern if you are a team leader in that sense. We have about 3 drivers missing from the lobby. A couple of them on their way. You see Valkyrie F1. She's not in here as well. She is on her way, but her being 2nd in the championship and Mythic right behind. This is a golden opportunity if Skither does not show up. We saw Skither was late for Monaco due to getting distracted by IndyCar. We should be able to see what Skither is missing for in the next coming moments. That should be interesting. Well, we spoke about the driver standings. There's not much there, but there is a little bit when it comes to the constructor standings. Look at this. Searles, 18 points out of Trident. Here's Skither. He has joined the lobby. So there you go. It's fair game now. Trident 18 back. Prema 23 back from Searles. Carlin 32 back. High Tech 57. Campos 58. Van Amersfoort Racing 61 back. And ART Grand Prix. They are 65 points back. That is everybody in the top 8 of the championship. They are all within a race of Searles and can overtake them in the championship today. So, chat, welcome along. Give us your predictions for today's race. Give us your predictions for who you think is going to win and what you think things will look like after today. Not only do we have RPL today when it comes to F2, we have a bit of action later on when it comes to Tier 1. We are in Canada for the 2nd time this weekend. So we are just moments away from getting underway when it comes to the Japanese Grand Prix for F2. Chat, let us know who you plan to root for today, or if you're race engineering a driver. If you're engineering a driver, that will be very interesting to see, especially if you are anywhere from 2nd to 5th in the championship for the driver you are engineering, because the thing about that is you want to let your competitor know, well, your driver that you're engineering, let them know where your competitors are at, whether it is 2nd through 5th or Skither has a bad race and you want to know the championship gap because of that. Those are very interesting things to play for when it comes to this race today. And the interesting thing now is We also have a driver in RPL making his debut today. Morgan Cheeseman is alongside Skither at Searles. This is important for Searles because they currently lead the Constructors title. So Morgan will have to figure out what he can do when it comes to his debut. I know Scyther is one of a kind when it comes to talents and a driver on the track, but getting at least a couple of points alongside Skither is exactly what you want to do with Searles. So just moments away, as mentioned, from getting underway. We're ready to bring you the action. I'll tell you that right now. So as we talk about a lot of things this weekend, let's talk about what we have in store next weekend for RPL. For those of you tuning in, next weekend, Tier 2 is at Las Vegas. They have 3 runs to go in the season. F1 has plenty time to go till their finale. They are in Canada this weekend. After that, next week, they are in Austria. And then next week, F2 is at Jeddah. Man, I'm going to tell you right now from personal experience, Jeddah is an absolute amazing circuit when it comes to racing with these F2 cars. I absolutely hate it when it comes to F1 cars. I think it's a good track. I've sucked at it for a long time, but I'll say this. When it comes to F2 racing at Jeddah, absolute thriller each time. The fond memory I have in this league at Jeddah is it absolutely pissing it down in the, I think it was the feature. It was either the feature or the sprint, but it was back, I want to say back in F1 21. And I had a little nice battle with Sam Steed. I know Titan ended up taking positions back from us, and we were like, oh my god, we might have an actual chance to finish well. Because Sam Steed and I were usually toward the back, and that was an amazing battle with us too. We kept it side by side, wheel to wheel for probably over half the track. It was just incredible, and I had damage at the time as well. So that's one of my fond memories of Jeddah. And then the next time we went to Jeddah, I believe at the beginning of F1 22, I overslept. So I've made sure when commentating these races that I do not oversleep. I'll tell you that right now. I think just waiting on one driver here, maybe. Oh, we're readying up, actually. Here we go. It is time for F2 qualifying. Give us your predictions in chat. Who you think will take pole position. Remember, once qualifying is finished, the top 10 get inverted for the sprint race. Whoever qualifies 10th is going to be on pole for the sprint race. And it's all to play for. This is a track where I definitely think track position is definitely key. Not only if there are safety cars, but especially with your qualifying spot. You're up there in the feature race. You qualified well because of qualifying. You start well in the feature race. All right, keep that track position. That's what I would want my driver to do if I'm engineering somebody or if I'm a team principal of one of these drivers. Keep that track position. This is so crucial around here. I think with F1 cars, it probably has become easier to overtake around here. With F2 cars, tracks like these, like we saw in previous games at Russia, like we saw at Jeddah, which didn't provide the best of racing in real life, but it provided better racing in F2. There's a couple other tracks that are street circuits that we can name, but this probably being one of them that would probably do the same. However, I don't trust there to be many overtaking at tracks like Qatar last week and many others we've ran so far in the season, such as Monza. Even tracks like Silverstone in Austria that are on the calendar. I don't trust it to be as overtaking friendly as those, but you definitely want the track position to be in play for in this race. So qualify well or qualify 10th if you want to start in the sprint race pole, but get a good start. Here we go. Here's time for a qualifying chat. It's now or never to give us a prediction for a pole position. You see those drivers retiring, such as Blue Goggy and Morgan Cheeseman, being late to the driver lineup. They have had to retire with qualifying bans. So let's go on board with Titan Ironwall through the first sector and let's see what he can do in his Trident. He got a podium not too long ago in Spain. Spain was actually an interesting one because Spain actually had quite a bit of overtaking when it came to the race itself. You saw the chicane that was removed, improved a lot of racing. He tapped Golden Suggies retiring, end of the first sector. Skither on top. Yeah, we saw a lot of great racing with that chicane move. We also saw the Portuguese Grand Prix canceled due to the in real life sprint race at Belgium. So that is exactly why there is 10 rounds this season instead of 11. It was originally scheduled 11, but you now see why that is. Portimao was canceled. Okay, they're now looking for another pole position on the season. This is very interesting because he is just absolutely went out the ballpark when it comes to his pole positions this season. 22-1 when we come to the sector split. Grogger's retiring from the session. His hopes are over. So is Chaco's as well. Coming to the final chicane. Taylor nails it, it looks like, riding that curve to the outside. Going to come to the start-finish line now. What is this time going to be? It is going to be a 40.7. He's nearly 2/10 ahead of the rest of the competition. It's going to be Skither, your championship leader, taking 2 extra points with that pole. Not only is it 2 extra points, but I believe, I'm going to check it, I believe this is his 3rd pole of the season. So impressive stuff from your championship leader. Here's your qualifying order. Skither, Crispy, Dat Person, Fake TB, Valkyrie rounding out your top 5. Jack Miles, Mythic, Invade, Titan, and then Grandpa. Grandpa and Titan will start in your sprint race front row. So, looking back at the previous races, this is Skither's 3rd pole. And it's the most of anybody. He's the only one that has multiple pole positions in this F2 season. Not only does he have multiple pole positions in this F2 season as well, but his team is the only one as well to have multiple pole positions. So Grandpa and Titan will make up your front row for the sprint race, which is about to get underway. Chat, we have 7 of you watching. Give us your predictions for the sprint race. Let us know. It's awful quiet today, but it's good to have you. I will talk about your predictions and say what I think about them for sure. And will we see any safety cars? You think Skither will win, says Invade. I would agree, but you know what? Maybe not the sprint race. He's got a lot of competition when it comes to these 11 laps. You saw the gap in qualifying between the top 3, just a little over 2/10. So we saw last week with the sprint race, it wasn't all Skither's. It was Bourbon Boy last week winning the sprint race. He's not here today, but can his team go 2 in a row? I know I'll drop off. I'm useless in F2. That's okay. We like to bring the action. There's not always as many viewers for F2, but I'm glad to have you guys watching for sure, no doubt about it. You guys keep the action going every time we stream. So that's the good thing about it. Whether you're a racer here, whether you always watch for the fun of it. Here we go. Here come the 5 red lights for the F2 sprint race. And it's lights out, and away we go, go, go! We see ducking out for the Red Bull livery car already, but it's Grandpa with an amazing start already, almost fully clear of Titan, and now he is. Invade is side by side now with Titan for second place in this race. Also behind that, you have Jack Miles, also in the thick of things. How about Invade getting ahead of Titan there, out of the exit of turn 2. We got yellow flags in the back of the field. That's Groggers, and I think Suggy C1 may have picked up a piece of it as well. Already out to a second lead is Grandpa. Now you have Mythic and Valkyrie trading spots in the S section, and they're all trying to play for it and get up the field from starting at the back, such as Skither and Choco and many others who started at the very part of the midfield. Remember, that's because of getting switched from the feature race and sprint race results. We saw a little bit of touching wheels, and that's a bit of carbon fire being picked up off of one of the cars as we reach sector 2. Now the hairpin. Oh, a little bit of touching. That was in front. That was, I believe, Titan trying to fend off Jack Miles for third place. Remember, Titan already has a podium to this season, trying to get one more. That's a second lead, almost being down to less than a second. We have side by side for fifth place in this race. Mythic and Valkyrie. Mythic kind of pinching out Valkyrie. And in front of that, Jack Miles getting caught up with Titan. Skither trying to get his way through this mess as well, as we have two Red Bull livery cars behind that of Choco and TB going wheel to wheel. Valkyrie thinking of going wheel to wheel. 130R behind that. Fake TB and Skither are going wheel to wheel. 130R. This gets Titan. They both go off the road. Unbelievable. And they somehow don't lose places. Skither locks the rears. We have Choco down the inside of Skither as well. Wheel to wheel. And there's a bit of touching. There's more banging. In front of that, Mythic and Titan getting caught up as well. Titan has been passed by Jack Miles, and now Mythic. They're all weaving and bobbing down the straight, trying to pick up the slipstream. How about 3 wide? Into turn 1. Skither ahead of Choco and TB. Valkyrie now ahead of Titan as well. Unbelievable action to start this race. Mythic also on Jack Miles trying to reduce this gap. They are all really in this DRS train when it comes to 3rd to 14th. DRS can be enabled next time by. Morgan Cheeseman gaining places, Blue Goggy gaining places as well. We have Titan going down the order. Titan made a mistake at the end of Sector 1. It's cost him a lot of places now. Oh, and he's going off the road as well with it. Blue Goggy's gonna go down the inside. Blue Goggy's gonna pinch him. They almost make contact, and somehow they don't. Here comes that person. So now Titan is completely down the order as well with this. Oh, in front of that, Skither and Choco. We have another battle between them. That's the second time this race already, out on the second lap. Here comes Choco once again, thinking of where to make the move on Skither, thinking of how much more patient do I have to be. Skither behind championship rival Valkyrie. This is for 5th place in this race. We have all the championship protagonists, Mythic, Valkyrie, Skither running toe to toe to toe. Is anybody going to try side-by-side at 130R? We saw a collision between the two Haas drivers of Danny Bresnay and Alfie Butcher in PSGL going wheel-to-wheel 130R. How about after 130R? Valkyrie, you can see a bit of front wing coming off her car previously. She's got damage, so you see Skither trying to deal with that, being behind Valkyrie as Jack Miles takes the fastest lap. 4 positions gained for Skither, Choco, 4 for Blue Goggy, and 6 for Padpole. Look at that position lost with Titan. Oh, down the inside, you saw the mistake made from Valkyrie. It's going to be a little bit of pinching between Skither and Valkyrie has to concede the place. Now Valkyrie might have to concede the place with Choco now, as Choco is caught behind Valkyrie on the S's with this damage as well now. Both Red Bull livery cars following, and there's a bit of touching right there. Oh boy. Where does Choco make the move? Following behind Valkyrie. Now you have to gain and take this place if you want to have a chance at Skither for the sprint race victory, as he is catching cars in a heartbeat. Is it going to be made it here at the hairpin? He's close behind Valkyrie. Valkyrie slid, and here comes Choco down the inside, and they touch massively. And here comes Fake TB as well with this. Fake TB's in the mix, trying to get that spot as well. There was an absolute send from Choco. Here comes Valkyrie back at it. They touch. Valkyrie's off the road and into the wall. And that could potentially be more damage to her race car, as we already see there was some damage already previously from the opening lap. That does not help the case for her. Oh, we have a crash. That's Valkyrie and Titan. They have come to collision, and will this bring out the safety car? It looks like not. Here's TB and Choco at the chicane. Oh, they touch. Goggy and Dat Person is well behind that. They're also going wheel to wheel. They get forced out wide. Here's Dat Person trying to hang around the outside line. Goggy's getting ahead, but he's sliding in the process. Behind that, you have Suggy, C1, and Tadpole. Here's Dat Person getting out of Blue Goggy by turn 1, but Goggy slides into him, into the corner, and pushes him wide. Man, this gets tight, and it still is getting tight. In front of that, Choco and TB, Skither and Mythic. There is so many action, or so much battles to watch with this action on the track. We could have a side-by-side camera, and we still wouldn't catch all the action. The lead has been cut down. All 3 of the podium sitters under a second now. Blue Goggy is our first driver to pick up a penalty. We have yellow flags. That is the back of the field. That is Groggers. Morgan and Crispy getting close. Morgan's off the road. He's got a time penalty with it. He's around. Here's Choco, who's got the position now in TB. In front of that, you have Skither still in the back of Mythic, and the lead is still under a second between 3 cars. Here's Fake TB once again. Gonna charge in that outside line. Into Spoon Curve, they touch again. And Fake TB has to go off the road. Blue Goggy also, I think, pushing that person off the road right there as well. Blue Goggy does not have points to his name this season. Like I've mentioned each race, he is still trying to get points for the lead. Invade has got it. Grandpa with a problem because Jack Miles to the outside line now. Hugging that curb is Grandpa, but Jack Miles gonna go around the outside. Oh, Grandpa touches that curb and almost gets into him. We have DRS applied now for Grandpa. And Invade, by the way, is the only one in that top 3 who does not have DRS. Behind that, Mythic and Skither as well, as Jack Miles ahead of Grandpa now. At turn 1, oh, Mythic holding off Skither just barely. Crispy with a 5-second penalty. He sped in the pit lane. He has given up in this race, it looks like, as Dat Person and Blue Goggy. That position has been decided now. So we've got yellow flags all around the track. Here's Choco and Fake TB. Gonna go wheel to wheel in the S's once again. Around the outside is Choco. He's gonna have the inside line for turn 8 and pinching him. I think Choco might be ahead, but however, Fake TB is not giving this up yet. Around the outside as we head into sector 2. Do they figure it out? Yes, they do. But not just yet. I think Choco wanted to look. He clips the grass. Not anymore. How about the 5 cars in the top 5 under a second of one another for position? Skither got close to Mythic, but luckily did not make contact. All these guys, when they come to the front straight, they will be within DRS as things stand. Grandpa's now got out of DRS, and we have a crash. Grandpa somehow, I think, avoids damage, but has just lost the top 5 places from all that. Wow, what a slide. He is lucky to not get any damage, but he has lost many places with it. Invade, now your race leader with a time penalty. Jack Miles following suit now, so this is perfect for him as he's got Mythic out of DRS. And now Skither puts the pressure on Mythic for 3rd place. It was a rejoin regarding Titan and Valkyrie that caused that collision. Behind that, Suggy, C1, and Blue Goggy. Blue Goggy is now out! That's at the pit lane. Is that going to bring out our safety car that we might have that interferes with this race? No, it does not. His car is absolutely destroyed, though. We're just past halfway. 13 runners left. Remember, the top 8 get the points in the sprint, so that person in the final points paying position. 1.6 that gap is with Mythic and Jack Miles. That is for our net lead. Mythic makes a mistake and Skither's right in the back now. That gap has come down, and as we head to the hairpin, Skither has a look, but it's not enough just yet. He's gonna look to the outside in the braking zone, around the outside, cannot get the move done. He's gonna try the switchback though. We have behind that Fake TB and Chuck, who've battled all race so far. Here's Skither following Mythic again. Gear Skither once again, maybe looking for a look. Can't do anything of it, but for the lead. This is the actual lead on track, regardless of the penalties. Jack Miles following Invade. Is he going to make a move by 130R? He thinks of it and does not. Behind that, you have Mythic following suit with Skither once again. Fake TB and Choco have got their self in DRS as well. Gear Skither maybe looking for a look. Does not happen. However, out of the chicane, Mythic protects. Skither looking. That gap with Jack Miles. Jack Miles made a mistake, and look at this. Mythic is right in the back of Jack Miles for the net lead right here. Mythic. Oh, there was a brake test right there. I think he tried to avoid side by side, and they've come to collision. Mythic and Jack Miles, and now that's given Skither the net lead. Mythic trying to wait for turn 2 to maybe make the move, and that's resulted in a collision now. FPL with a penalty. Potential brake test, and that will definitely go to the stewards without a doubt. I don't think he meant to do it. No doubt about it. But there was contact with third place right there. That got close. I don't think he meant to do it, but I'll say this. Wait, down the inside. Choco slides the rears and gets into TB, who has a bit of damage. And I think Choco might be ahead for just now. TB's going to fight this back for third place. Around the outside. Moved on. Yeah, I don't think it was on purpose. I just think he just did not want to go side by side there at turn 1. Wanted to wait for turn 2. And in result of that, you had Skither behind, who I don't even know if he has any damage from that. I'd be surprised if he does, and I don't think he does. I think Skither was the one who hit the back of, who was that? As Grandpa retires now. Grandpa's out. I think he hit the back of Mythic. I think it was Mythic. But, yeah, that's what happens when being too cautious. And now that is 5 retirements within the 7 laps of this race as we come to lap number 8. Invade trying to hold on. Invade trying to get that 3-second gap. Not enough just yet. We have Choco and Fake TB. Choco with the DRS. Fake TB without the DRS. Here we go by turn 1. Will this get cleaner with turn 1? Down the inside. He thought about it, but now he's going to go for turn 2 like I previously mentioned. Choco down the inside. He's going to be side by side, but he slides in the process. It is not going to work out this time. He's going to fight this back, though, in the S section. In the later portion of it, Fake TB puts his car in front of him and protects and keeps the spot. As Jack Miles back at it for 5th place, trying to gain in the wings. We saw a little bit. Was that a bump and run? Usually don't see that in these cars, and that's really not allowed, but he may have just gave him a bump and run. Oh, Choco slides, and he's around, and Jack Miles has been collected. Both of them had damage. So now, 3 of the cars running 3rd through 6th have damage. Tadpole with a penalty. He runs 9th. That's just outside the points. Choco now behind Mythic, and I think there was a bit of contact as we head to Spoon Curve. The lead is under a second, so now this race could be won on track and based on the penalties. I've given you a lot of the onboard camera. Let's stop doing that. Now the gap is a little bit over a second. I don't think Skither's going to have DRS down the main straight. Yes, he actually does. He was within a second by the detection point somehow. You saw him slide right there. I saw an interesting moment happen in a league race that was posted on the Out of Context League Racing channel where someone was sliding and they hit the orange bollard where the pit lane is, and it resulted in the tire coming off in the car. So we'll see if that happens with anybody today. Mythic you saw slid. Now following Jack Miles. Skither following Invade with DRS for the race lead. On track and on penalties. Yellow flags. That's Groggers out of the session. That, I believe, is at the entrance of the pit lane or the pit lane. I am not too sure. However, that now leads to 11 cars being left in this race. Safety cars off, you say. Okay, good to know. Well, now that leads to lights out action, right? And that prediction of yours, Invade, of Skither winning the sprint race, or maybe both, could potentially become right here as the gap is under 5 seconds, or sorry, 5/10, with about to be 2 laps remaining. Skither's put together an absolute amazing performance when it comes to these races. He already has 3 wins in the season, looking for 4. He is one of 2 repeat winners, him and Blonde both. Every time he comes to the track, he is absolutely lights out. We have a crash. That is Suggy C1. That was within the point spots. Now it gives it to Tadpole for 8th place. And he has more damage. That is absolutely not good toward his race. But the lead is under heat. And now we have Skither in DRS in pursuit of Invade with the penultimate lap underway. Where does he make the move? He fakes him out down the inside. Skither gets by, and Invade, who went wide, gives the place to Skither. Caught him napping, Skither did. And Skither goes through for the race lead. On track and now on penalties. That did not take long. Now the question is, can Fake TB take 2nd place in that podium away with the penalties in place? Choco, that is 7th place. He is a penalty. That person as well, he gets by. Now it's Mythic, Jack Miles, the battle for 4th place. This is the battle we're going to be watching on track. 9/10 that gap is for 1st and 2nd, at least on track. We know there's penalties to be applied at the end of this race with drivers 2nd, 7th, 8th, 9th, and 11th. No one over 3 seconds of penalties who do have the penalties, though. But the only gap, the only battle on track we see is for 4th place and 6th place, as we're about to come to the final lap of the sprint race. Action-packed, wouldn't you say? The sprint race for sure. If that's the case, with the pit stop coming in the feature race after this should be a ton of fun. We have a move potentially being made at 130R. However, I do not think Mythic is close enough. There was a mistake. Mythic would have been close enough, but just not yet. We're coming to the final lap. Skither reaching the final lap now. He might win the championship next week. That is how dominant he has been this season. The gap in the championship heading into this race, 41 points, with Mythic being 5th. That gap's gonna extend a lot. Invade's still within a second on this final lap. Still trying to follow suit. Now it's out of a second. That person's caught up to Mythic for position. These guys 4 through 6 do not have penalties. So now it's time to look out for any position trades as we come to the checkered flag this time. Yeah, like I said, that championship gap. Look at what this is going to do. If Mythic finishes 5th and Skither wins this race, that gap will come to 50 points. Remember, Skither took the pole for the feature race. So that's 2 extra points right there. 6 points in the sprint race, separating that gap from 1st to 5th. So, you see what that does. And the fastest lap being put, that's an extra bonus point. So now that would be 51 points. So, you know, although Skither is a race ahead when it comes to the championship gap, he can't clinch it today, but there's a chance he can clinch it next week with all to play for then. Here we come to the final sector one more time. The battle for 4th place heating up with Jack Miles, Mythic, that person. I don't think there'll be any overtakes unless we head to the final chicane. Fake TB following Invade from 2nd place as well. But the one who has took the race lead with a couple laps remaining, Skither enters the final chicane, comes out of the final chicane. He did it from 10th in the grid in the sprint race, has come through, and he's going to win and extend that championship lead gap once again. He is absolutely dominant this season. 4 race wins now to his name. Coming to the line, that person could not get Mythic. It was just a 10th right there. Choco and Tadpole, the final points position runners. Morgan's going to overtake Suggy C1. Here we go. 10th place in this race. Suggy C1 with damage. Morgan slides. Will he stay ahead, though? There might have been contact. And they come out of the final chicane with Suggy around the outside. This will be a photo finish for 10th place in this race. It's Suggy C1 holding on. How about that? Although Invade finished second. He is very happy with that. In fact, Invade finishing on the podium. That's actually the 21st different driver to be on podium this F2 season. How about that? We've had a record, I feel like we've had a record amount of number drivers on the podium this season in F2. It is now up to 21. Last week we went from 18 to 20, now we go from 20 to 21. First podium in this league, and I think in all my seasons here. Fair play. Congrats to Invade with that one. As you see the podium finishers for the sprint race, stay tuned, folks. We have a feature race to get underway in the next couple of minutes. Skither with his 4th win of the season. Now he's going to try to go for number 5. He's been the class of the field in F2. He's been the class of the field in Tier 1. Wherever he goes, he absolutely beats the competition. Here are your points from the sprint race weekend. Here are your results. From 10th in the grid, Skither with the fastest lap does it. Now remember, he's going to be starting from the feature race pole right here. TB, Invade, round out your podium. I think that's also TB's first podium of the season as well. It is. TB is, yeah, 22nd different podium sitter. Man. Look at the competition here for F2. Jack Miles, Mythic, Dat Person, Choco, Tadpole, your points. Finishers. If I'd have to give a driver today from the sprint race specifically, it would have to be Skither. That run through the field from 10th place, it was not easy, and it did not look like he would have won at one point in this race, but the collision with Mythic and Jack Miles and those guys running 2nd place, trying to battle for what would have been the net race lead, because of the penalty Invade had, it ended up coming crashing down, and Skither ended up winning the sprint race from it. Now it's time for the feature race. Give us your thoughts in the chat who you think will win the feature race. We see a little bit of cloud cover. Strat Racers retired from the session. Valkyrie's also left the session. There's been an issue there. I don't think that was intentional. Something's happened to Valkyrie. She's retired from the session, actually. So that will potentially hurt her... hurt her feature race hopes. Actually, hold on. We are restarting after the sprint race because the safety car is off. Okay, so that explains that. Alright, so we're fixing the settings, so that's why. It'll be about a 5 to 10 minute wait for those of you still here. Let's talk about that sprint race that we just saw. Action-packed. For sure. I think we see that anytime we come to the F2 series of RPL. But that battle for the lead late in the race, Invade and Skither for the race lead, the race win. How about that? So that is exactly why so Tadpole feeling a little bit frustrated with Blue Goggy after that race. But it looks like a restart will give us a 5 to 10 minute break. Chat, let us know who you were most impressed with that race. Not only who you're most impressed with, but I know there's a couple of drivers who usually watch, so it's good to have you. Yeah, so that gap in the championship, 51 points now with Mythic and Skither. If we continue the rate that we're at, after next week, by the way, this is after next week, when we go to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia, the gap, and Skither will go to back-to-back. We already have the predictions coming in. The gap would have to be 78 points at the end of next week's race, and that is very, very possible with the gap now being 51 points in the championship table. All right, let's see if we can get an invite here to the restarted lobby. Lobby is open, okay. So we will join the lobby and we will let you know how things stand. The thing I noticed as well in that is NP Motorsports. I never fully noticed it till now, but I'm looking at hold on just a moment. I'm looking at the constructors, obviously, and I know there's 11 teams in F2. We always have to have a spectator. So with that said, that leaves out a team. And MP Motorsports was a team left out. I never noticed there was MP that was left out. I never specifically noticed. But with one car today, we have Carlin, Prema, Virtuosi. Let's speak of the rest of the constructor standings, because I know we speak about the top, but Virtuosi, 30 points to their name before today in the constructors table. Man. They really need to have a good performance to not finish last in the constructors championship this season. So now it is time for the feature race. We have the grid being set up now. Remember, the grid goes off of the qualifying order for the feature race. We have a sprint race and a feature race. Feature race going off of the qualifying order from first on back. So stay tuned for the feature race. It is 15 laps. Remember, in the feature race, it is a mandatory pit stop unless it is deemed wet conditions. And the weather in the feature race previous lobby looked like it was just a little bit of partly cloudy with us. With that said, we can also have a team's championship decided by the finale if we don't have a driver's championship that goes to the finale. So we have that can happen. And if you are just joining us as well, Tier 2 is next week at Las Vegas. That's at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, 8 p.m. UK. Remember, if you wanted to join us from the very start of the stream, usually around that, it's 2:55, 7:55, the time the stream starts. F2 next week is at Jeddah. That stream usually starts anywhere from 11 o'clock to 11:15 a.m. Eastern, 4 to 4:15 p.m. UK time. Next week on the Saturday, by the way. Each week that happens. And F1 this weekend is at Canada. I will not be there. Tyrant Iron Wolf will be commentating for Tier 1 at Canada. Tier 1 at Canada should be tons of fun. Canada always seems to provide a lot of action, a lot of penalties. Some drivers seem to not keep it within the track limits. We'll find out who keeps it within the track limits today, later on. Leon Miner and Bonkers were the only two drivers not to have a penalty at the end of the Canadian Grand Prix yesterday. Just waiting for the grid to be finalized, and then we will get underway for the feature race. Remember, no formation lap as well. Once that is all figured out, we will get underway. Chat, give us your predictions on whether or not Skither will go back to back. That should be tons of fun to figure out. Will he go back to back? Or will someone else steal the show for the feature race? I wanted to put up a poll yesterday for the Tier 2 race. However, it would not let me. More than likely, he will go back to back. I would agree. However, with the action we've seen so far in F2, it's not totally guaranteed or predictable. It's not like Max Verstappen with winning just about every race, or Red Bull with just about winning every race. Skither's done quite well in F2. It's not to discredit him by all means, but it's to say that with him compared to Tier 1, Tier 1 he's more of a dominant force than he is F2. No doubt about it. So, a lot different when it comes to the action here. Let's try to put up a poll this time. I want to be able to put up a poll. If it doesn't let me, oh well. Let's run this poll for 3 minutes, if it works. Nope, it does not work. Alright, I'll have to figure that out. I'll have to figure that out after today as to why that's not working. And now we're about to get underway. Perfect. Morgan Cheeseman, you think, is going to win? Well, with what he showed in the sprint race, I do not know if that will happen. But there is a better chance for him getting points here in the feature race. I will say that. Yeah, let me check when it comes to polls. I want to be able to figure out if we can run some polls each race. I'll have to talk to the admins about that as to figuring out why, and probably preferably tighten with why polls cannot be run for some reason. Or why it's not letting it happen. I think he would probably know. I'd be happy with points, says Invade. Well, let's find out what happens in the F2 feature race. It is now all to play for, and you can see the sun kind of going down. So sunset may be a little bit of an issue with braking zones for some of these drivers. However, that will be figured out in the next coming moments. Final predictions, chat. Here we go. Oh, I need your help with something after the race, Titan. That's what I was saying. We'll have to figure out what that poll feature. I want to put some polls out for the future Tier 2 races and potentially F2 races. It keeps saying error for it, but we'll figure it out eventually. With that said, we're moments away from getting underway with F2. 10 viewers watching. This is amazing. Keep it up, guys, because F2 usually does not get the viewership that Tier 1 and Tier 2 do. Skill issue. I agree. Well, let us know, chat. We'll together go back to back. Drivers putting in their setups. Drivers messing with the strategy. Which way do you go? Because there is a mandatory pit stop for the feature race. Here we go. The 5 red lights are on. And they're off and away. Skither leads them on the run to turn 1. He gets a decent start. He's already clear of Crispy before turn 1. Fake TV's going to challenge as well. Behind that, Jack Miles around the outside. Yellow flag to the back. That is Valkyrie, who has got off to a bad start. But in front of that, Choco, Invade, swap places. Behind that, FBL and Titan go wheel to wheel into the S section as Valkyrie has been disqualified as Suggy C1 and FBL now go side by side. And they all get single file as we head to the end of Sector 1. You see everybody on the soft tires except for 2. Morgan Cheeseman now losing places as well at the back of the field. FBL and Groggers, the 2 teammates, trading places with that set as well. Now, Choco following Mythic. Ducking out, trying to find time, trying to find places, but nothing just yet. We had to go head to the hairpin for the first time. We got yellow flags. That is Suggy C1 at the back of the grid. Losing places, but around the outside, that person's going to go at the hairpin. Now I'm going to switch it back to the inside line. You have cars ducking out, cars trying to find time, cars trying to avoid collisions potentially. As Blue Goggy and Invade trade spots as well. We have side by side here as we head to Sector 3. Invade and Goggy. We got yellow flags. That is Suggy C1 once again. Here in the background, Morgan Cheeseman trying to duke it out, as well as we have the second place being traded. We have contact. That's Crispy and that person. Crispy now going to try to follow for 130R. Does he make the move at 130R? It's the question to the outside. He waits for it. And smartly done, but he's got Fake TB following out of 130R. We've got cars ducking out. Oh, that was close from Crispy and Fake TB. Crispy down the inside of that person. Switching back now. We have a car around. That's Mythic. That is crucial to the championship. Now it's Skither leading. The fastest lap goes to Skither. Now, that person and Crispy battling as it's already a 3-second gap for the lead. It was nearly an Alfie Butcher moment. You're correct about that as we have second place under heat down the inside as we have a virtual safety car being brought out. That was Crispy and that person, I think, that were side by side there at turn 1. Who are the quickest drivers, you say? Well, I'll say Skither is one of the quickest. I feel like after that, Mythic could be considered one of the quickest. Valkyrie could be considered one of the quickest. And then I feel like behind that, it's all to play for with most of these drivers. It really swaps each race, each track when it comes to drivers behind that. As we saw, Valkyrie disqualified, since speaking of faster drivers. We could see a surprise podium with that said. So now we have 2 drivers out, Suggy C1 being one of them. His hopes come dashing down. The VSC still up, about to get back underway. Oh, we have a collision under the safety car. And there was a stack up, and now that person has got a drive-through for speeding under the safety car. Those VSC, excuse me. He was checking up, and Crispy and Fake TB ran in the back of him. He had to check up because of the fact he was going too fast under the VSC. However, Fake TB gets ahead, but not for long. That person back ahead. And now, Crispy takes his shot at TB. He gets ahead as well. The tire difference with the mediums to the softs with Fake TB and Crispy. Now, yellow flags. That's at the back of the field. That's Morgan Cheeseman. His chance for points come dashing down as well. Out of 130R, Crispy following that person. This gets close once again. 130R is such a tight section with each drivers to just follow one another. The gap, 3 seconds once again for the lead, and you see that person having to duck out for that drive-through. And he gets a speeding penalty in the process. Talk about going from bad to worse. Well, that is exactly what just happened with that person. 2/10 now, the gap, Fake TB and Crispy for second place in this race. Morgan Cheeseman pitting as well. DRS being enabled on this lap. That'll be enabled from the exit of the final corner all the way down to turn number 1. Choco following suit again with Fake TB. The 2 Red Bull livery cars battling it out, but into the wall. Choco goes. He lost it. And I think he's missing an entire front wing now. Oh my goodness. And now that's going to allow this DRS train that is following from 5th on back to close up. No, he's not missing an entire front wing. He's got damage on the left side though. Blue Goggy, FBL, just outside the points, trying to follow, trying to gain points. Here we go. Fake TB once again to the inside at Spoon Curve. They're going to hold a wheel to wheel at Spoon Curve. Inside line for Fake TB. Crispy trying to hang it around the outside, getting pinched a little bit and almost contact. They're going to keep it wheel to wheel as we head to 130R. The gap's now 4.5 for the race lead. They're going to stay side by side at 130R. However, Crispy trying to switch back, has to run out wide. Nothing going to be played for right there. Choco and Jack Miles now follow suit. Jack Miles has got himself a decent gap over Invade now for 6th place. Behind that, big battle, 8th place, Titan, Tadpole, Groggers, FBL, and Goggy. Right at the back of that. In front of that, here's Crispy once again with Fake TB. Down the inside at turn 1. Crispy's going to get the better of him, but pinches Fake TB out. And Choco gets ahead of Fake TB in the process as well. Remember, Choco has that damage on his car. He, I think, just moved Crispy out of the way right there. A little bit of bumper car action right there for second place. Remember, Choco has that damage on his car. And here's Crispy under heat from Fake TB. And Fake TB now under heat from Jack Miles. Following Jack Miles, Invade is caught up from this as well. Back in DRS, back all to play for. 5 seconds that gap is. 5 seconds. Mythic now following Invade. Mythic down the inside. Thinking about a move with the hairpin. Cannot get it done. Blue Goggy and FBL. Groggers and Titan. Groggers and Titan got close. Blue Goggy around the outside line. He smacks FBL. Choco with a 3-second time penalty. That's our second penalty to this race. Here is down the inside from FBL. Blue Goggy having to use the runoff. Goggy going wide again, trying to hang around the outside line. They've figured it out right there. Crispy ahead of Fake TB as Fake TB follows once again for second place. How about around the outside? Fake TB was trying it on Crispy, could not get the move done. Blue Goggy, our third driver to pick up a penalty in this race. Remember, these guys still have to do that mandatory pit stop in this race. 3 of them on the mediums now. Morgan's done it. 2 of them on the mediums who have not pitted. The rest of the guys who have not pitted on the softs. And we have side-by-side action once again. Invade ahead of Mythic. That person with the fastest lap now. He is on the... I thought he was on fresh tires. Excuse me. He's at the back of the grid. You can see Skither with that fastest lap being stolen from him. He is in cruise control, Skither is. And around the outside of turn 8, Mythic does it. He's ahead of Invade now for 6th place in this race. We still have following suit for the podium place. It will be 2nd place with that podium with the penalty ahead from Choco and the damage. That may come to effect, but it doesn't look like it's affecting too much as of right now. FBL and Blue Goggy once again at the hairpin. They trade spots. They've been going back and forth since the start of this race. In front of that, Invade also following suit once again with Mythic. Invade following suit with Mythic as we head to 130R. No moves being made right there. That's probably the smarter decision. If you watch PSGL, a very popular racing league, on, I believe, Wednesday, you saw Alfie Butcher and his teammate come to collision. Groggers pitting, and also behind that, I think that was that person who spun around. But Groggers being one of the first drivers in the top half to make his mandatory pit stop. We see a position swap once again. Big T being Crispy. Crispy slid on the curb. He was trying for the cutback. However, sliding on that curb would not help that whatsoever. And he's still going to try to fight this back. Look at this. And that dirty air in the S section. He's going to try it to the inside line. They touch. And somehow, Fake TB has kept it straight. But he's lost places at the expense of that. He's now lost out to the other Red Bull livery car of Mythic. Crispy was going balls to the walls right there with that. And he's going to run wide right here. Jack Miles now gets his shot. And with that battling and that contact, Choco will now keep 2nd place as things stand. With that penalty, due to the nature of the battling, he's extended that 3-second gap. Here we go. Fake TB once again on Mythic. Down the inside at Spoon Curve. They keep it wheel to wheel. As we head out of Spoon Curve, it's going to be Fake TB ahead. Mythic trying the cutback once again. He's going to have the traction. Yellow flags. And that's a safety car. Blue Goggy, I think, is the cause of the yellow flags. He has crashed out. And we now have a safety car, meaning those guys who originally pitted, well, that changes the action. And it changes the trajectory of this race with that. Skither pitting, Choco pitting. And now we see behind that who pits and who doesn't. Choco speeds into the pit lane, so he already had the 3 second. That makes it even worse. And Crispy way too fast in the pit lane. He speeds. So does Jack Miles. Does anybody stay out, though, is the question. Oh, you saw FPL trying to get it under the limit. He slid. And that person also getting a speeding penalty as well. So safety car halting the action once again. See Groggers and Morgan, who already pitted, having to keep it in their delta. And Vade mentions that he had damage. Is that why maybe the safety car came out? We saw Blue Goggy DNF. Don't know if that was the case. However, whatever had happened has caused our first safety car of the race. We had a VSC previously. But TB is not too happy with Crispy right there. And unsurprisingly so after their contact that we mentioned. We said FBL and... oh! What has just happened here? Skither and Choco trading places under the safety car? No, as we were saying, FBL and Goggy were battling, and Goggy is not too happy because he feels like FBL was forcing him off and hitting him every 2 seconds. That is a quote from Goggy. Well, Reddit will take a little bit of a quick break under the safety car, but before we do that, we're going to mention our races later today. We just have Tier 1 later today. That is at 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK. We saw Tier 2 at Canada. Tier 1 joins them there as well. Give us 60 seconds. We'll be back for the action after that. All right, and we are back for the action. We have had some drivers pit under the safety car. Choco has also got involved in some sort of crash into the safety car because he's just lost places right there. And you see others behind that pitting for soft tires, thinking they can go the full distance, thinking they have no shot to win, so let's gamble. It's Jack Miles, Groggers, that person, Fake TB, and Morgan Cheeseman, all the drivers electing to go for the soft tires, the rest of the field being on the mediums. So I believe we might get the safety car in either this time or the next time by. If it's this time, we might only have Jack Miles caught up to the pack out of the new soft runners. Maybe Groggers, too. We'll find out. Next week, we're in Jeddah for the action at the street circuit. One of the driver's favorite street circuits, in fact, I would say. That should be a ton of fun. F2 cars are absolutely badass there at that track. I prefer it in F2 cars rather than F1. However, we'll see how the drivers do in that race. It's Crispy, I think, is just passed together again under the safety car on accident, potentially. Chaco heading to the pit lane. Chaco, remember, we saw coming back there from that break, we saw Chaco with damage, obviously going to have to repair that front wing. I think also electing to go for the soft tires too in the process. So his chance for a podium absolutely vanished. You know who's into this fight now that we've had this safety car happen and that Chaco's had his misfortunes happen? Tadpole and Titan Iron Wolf are both in this prime position to steal a podium away. And Titan says, it's a risk. I was near 50% after 6 laps in regards to the softs. However, having the safety car does help it, though. They'll be in the 60s at the end. So, a big gamble for sure, but one that might endure some punctures. If we're looking at anybody for a puncture, we might worry about Morgan Cheeseman the most. Morgan Cheeseman in his debut weekend, trying for points. He finished 11th in the sprint race, currently running 12th. The top 10 in the feature race get points. So we shall see what happens. Chat, 4 of you now. Let us know who is still watching here today. Make sure you watch later today in Tier 1. I will not be commentating, but take a look at Titan Iron Wolf commentating the action. The only thing I'd probably be able to commentate for later today with me being unavailable would probably be Q1. I would not be able to be there for the full time. So, enjoy the action with Titan later on today. Speaking of that, we should be getting the safety car coming in this time. I don't think Chaco will be fully caught up, but we have the top 12 being fully caught up, though. And yeah, it is in. Here we go. Time for the safety car to come in, and time for us to get back underway. Skither leads the restart. He controls the pace. He controls when he wants to go. And we shall see when he wants to go. Does he wait in the middle of the final corner, or does he go out of the final corner? And he's waiting a long way for sure, but as he picks up pace once again, it's pedal to the metal once more for Skither, leading the race and back underway and extending that gap to the best of his ability, trying to make sure there's no slipstream and that everyone got caught napping, because behind that, Titan and FBL go side by side, and Titan gets a little argy-bargy with FBL, and we have contact. Invade's around. Groggers is collected, and Invade's got his whole front wing gone, I think, as well. No, that's just a piece of it. So, bit of carbon fiber picked up. Groggers as well is spun. Now at the exit of turn 2. In front of that, FBL now trying to put pressure on Tadpole for what is 4th place. And behind that, Jack Miles, the first of the soft runners on the back of Titan. Titan sliding a little bit. Jack Miles trying to find his way past as well. Here we go. This is 6th place right now. Crispy with another penalty. Groggers with a penalty as well again. Here's Titan ducking out. Here's Jack Miles pulling alongside before the hairpin. They touch wheels. Jack Miles down the inside. And Titan goes off the road. And he's going to lose a ton of places. Fake TB, that person, and potentially Morgan Cheeseman getting ahead. But Titan's going to fight this back because he's now got Fake TB to his inside for Spoon Curve. And Fake TB does go ahead. So the 3 soft runners already have taken their fair share of places. Chaco now on Titan Iron Wolf as well. Said Chaco wouldn't get caught up to the back of the pack. However, with how slow they were going, he did get caught back up. And for the lead, it might not be based on penalties, but it is on track. Crispy gives Skither the boot. Crispy to the outside. Crispy thinking of it. Cannot get the move done just yet. DRS not enabled, but he's sliding. Now to the inside line on Skither. Gonna fight this one. To the inside. They touch. Skither has to go off the road. And now Crispy gets the lead on track. Argy-bargy with these two. And this is crucial, by the way, because although Crispy has penalties, Mythic is right behind Skither. And like I said, Mythic had issues at the start of this feature race as well. Now look where he's at. Right behind Skither. Invade, 3-second time penalty. So more drivers picking up penalties as Jack Miles following FPL once again. Trying to get the best of those soft tires. Inside line, he was looking for a moment. Couldn't do it. Here's Skither once again on Crispy for the lead. To the outside line at the hairpin. Gonna try to outbrake him. Crispy gives him the pinch though. Makes sure there's gonna be no switchbacks. However, everything still stays put. Skither surely gotta be fuming because he's like, you know, Crispy, you've got a lot of penalties here in your name. Why are you fighting me so hard? Why did you push me off at turn 1? A lot of questions probably being asked with those drivers and maybe with the driving standards itself from what we've seen from the sprint and feature race. We usually see the sprint race either being cleaner than the feature race or the feature race being cleaner than the sprint race. However, with the question of the standards on the line here today and in previous weeks with F2, this is definitely borderline for now. And you have outside line from Fake TB. Jack Miles, oh, off the road goes FPL. FPL is spun, he's off the track, and now he's lost tons of places. Titan with a penalty. Jack now ahead. We have behind that person and Choco battling as DRS gets enabled on lap 12. That person on Choco on the inside line. That person gets ahead. And pitting is Invade. He speeds, and I think that is his race over. Jack Miles definitely making the most he probably could off these soft tires with them possibly wearing in the coming laps. However, if he wants to have a chance for the podium, he has to pass Tadpole in the next 4 laps. We have a move. Choco and Dad Person. Choco on the inside line. Dad Person going to hold her on the outside as FBL picks up a penalty, but Choco is ahead. The lead once again. Skither following Crispy. Skither, is he going to try the outside line in the braking once again? No. Big TB is off. He's potentially had contact with one of the competitors. That person now in the back of Choco. He is absolutely bumping him. Telling him to get a go. And get hurrying up here. Especially because Jack Miles is in front, and I think Choco's maybe let him go. Unless something's just happened because he's absolutely lost all traction and all momentum. Here comes Fake TB, outside line before 130R, gives him the squeeze, making sure of no switchback, and Choco ahead. We have Morgan Cheeseman, by the way, running in the final points position. Want to notice that because he does not have any penalties, but the 2 ahead of him and the 2 behind him do have penalties. In his debut race, looking for points. How about Skither once again on the back of Crispy? Mythic can't get close enough and is not within DRS. However, he's still having to fend off Tadpole. Those positions, 3rd and 4th, those are your 2nd and 3rd places currently on the podium with Crispy having that penalty to spare. Three tenths now that gap. Remember, Crispy might win this race on track. However, when the penalties are applied at the end of today, it will be Skither winning his 5th race of the season. Skither's only swept the feature race and sprint race weekends once. He's trying to do it again as we have yellow flags the first sector. FBL is out. However, the lead could change hands once again. It may not be the win on penalties for Crispy, but it would be the win on track, and that's what Skither is fighting to get. The win on penalties and the win on track, as he is closer once again into 130R. Does he make the move into 130R is the question now to be asked. He is gaining, but he's just not close enough just yet. He's going to try it, gaining momentum in the final chicane. Ducks to the inside line. No, the move is not going to be made just yet. However, that traction he's trying to find out of the final chicane. He slides in the process. Now under heat is Tadpole and Mythic for the final points, or sorry, the final podium place. as Morgan and Gruggers trade spots. Matt now to the outside line. Skither before turn 1 gets the move done on Crispy. On the penultimate lap, he does it once again. Mythic still holding the place over Tadpole and Jack Miles now. Crispy's just lost all momentum. He is now out of DRS. And he is potentially going to be probably 8th, 7th at the end of this race. So not good if you are Crispy. In front of that, Jack Miles on Tadpole to the inside. Here we go. Oh, that was a slide from Tadpole, and that's going to allow Jack Miles to get ahead. Jack Miles, with that move, is now on the podium with those soft tires. However, the question now becomes, is there a puncture in reach for him? Is there a worry with the tire wear? Or has the safety car that came out earlier helped his case? Tadpole now loses a place to that person, so now Tadpole's going down the order as well. Final lap this time for Skither. An absolute amazing performance, as on the fastest lap with it as well. The gap before the feature race was 51 points as Groggers picks up a penalty. Now the gap with Skither getting that fastest lap and currently leading the race with Mythic 3rd. You want to know the gap? 62 points. All Skither needs heading into next week is a sizable gap. So he can clinch the championship next week if the gap is 78 points. He would only need 16 points over his competitors to do just that. And Valkyrie F1, no points today. Taking out of championship contention with that, surely. With the finishes from Mythic, Tadpole was really in a chance as well with this. Maybe Tadpole overtakes, Tadpole will overtake Blonde, but maybe going to overtake Valkyrie with this as well. A lot to play for when it comes to the championship standings. Searles also with today, looking to get points with Morgan Cheeseman now as well. For their constructors' hope, Morgan Cheeseman is still within 3 seconds of his competitors in front. 6 seconds Gruggers has on penalties. So Morgan Cheeseman could potentially take the last points position. Still 4th place under pressure. And that's Fake TB out of the session. Something's happened with him. However, into the final chicane and out of the final chicane. He's already swept the feature race and the sprint race once. He's going to give it to Crispy on track. He's going to sweep the feature race and the sprint race once more. And for his 5th win of the season, Skither crosses the line 2nd, but when penalties are applied, he wins the race. And Choco crashes big time into the final corner. He's going to lose points, and Tadpole reversing to the line. Titan gets 6th. And Morgan Cheeseman, with all that, is going to get 8th. He was originally 10th on the final lap with penalties applied. Unbelievable. He gets 8th, and that helps Searles for their Constructors' Championship extend that gap. So Skither with another victory. 5th win of the season, and he sweeps the sprint race and the feature race for the 2nd time this season. Skither is just on another level. He has won the last 3 races in a row. You can hear the podium celebration music, and now you can see the podium as well. Let's go over your final results. How about as well Jack Miles with those soft tires making it last onto the podium, no puncture. So Mythic, 2nd place right there. That gap in the championship is now 59 points. Here are your final results. If I had to give a driver of the day for this feature race, if I had to give a driver of the weekend, I would give it to Skither. If I had to give a driver of the day for the race itself, I'm still going to go with Skither. I was thinking of going someone else, but I can understand where we would not do that. How about that? How about that? Well, I must say, some of the driving with what I saw definitely in question. I know F2 is a series that they are questionable on whether or not they want to keep. So, if the driving does not get better in a race like today, with usually, like I said, it's a sprint race that's the cleaner one over the feature race, or the feature race being the one that's cleaner over the sprint race by a ton. And the way that looked today, it didn't really look like there was much of a difference between them. It still looked like there was quite a bit of contact and quite a bit of little too much argy-bargy throughout. I will say from when I last drove an RPL F2, the standards have got better. I will say that. But you have to allow your drivers to evolve with a brand new game. Just because it's still a brand new game 2 months in, you have to adapt, you have to evolve, and you have to see, where am I making these mistakes to cause these collisions? And the stewards have to, like I said yesterday, the stewards have to intervene. Where are these drivers making the mistakes? What is going to get them better? Because we cannot have constant collisions and constant stewarding reviews after every single race. We have to keep it down to a minimum. And that's where the worry is for F2. You know, myself being a driver, myself being a spectator, you know, I notice these kind of things where it's like, was there anything that could be avoided? Well, most of the time, yes. Sometimes there isn't, though. And most of the time in F2, we see incidents that can be avoided. And some of the drivers definitely having a difference in opinion when it comes to the chat. They aren't sure whether or not they were at fault or the other driver was at fault. So that is exactly where stewards have to intervene. And not only where stewards have to intervene, but also the fact that F2 is a series, you know, it has to stay alive in the sense where, you know, some of the admins want just tier 1 and tier 2. F1 tier 1, F1 tier 2. Well, with the racing today in F2, it does not help that case at all. Some of the drivers who needed to redeem themselves did so, or did not have the chance to do so. But with what we just saw, it's a little worrying for sure, whether or not F2 becomes a thing next season or not. And hey, if it is a thing next season, you know, what's the case for it? What's the case that we make for some of the driving? And does this continue in tier 2? Tier 2 yesterday we saw action-packed racing. Some questionable driving, nothing too severe, I would say, when it came to repetitiveness. But it's a question of, hey, look, we went to USA and we were able to, well, Texas we went to, and we were still able to provide a clean race with only 2 incidents. Yes, there was limited drivers, but why were we able to provide much better racing there than we were at something like today or Canada? That is where the questions get asked from these guys, and you cannot blame them whatsoever. They have to ask the questions. Skither, with his 5th win of the season, extends that championship gap. We now see what he can do when it comes to trying to clinch the constructors title for his team within the final weeks and the drivers championship more importantly. He's been on it. He's been absolutely incredible. Fair play to him. Fair play to him when it comes to the performances he's put in. Tune in later today for Tier 1 at 3 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. UK. That'll be streamed by Titan. Next week in F2, we go to Jeddah for the Grand Prix. Round 8 of 10 for F2. I will make sure I cover the action next week as well for F2 Tier 2, and Tier 1. Make sure you tune in then. Later today. And next week, same time. I'm your commentator, RhinoCon31. It was good to have you all join us. And until next time, sayonara.